Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another Monster Legends video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 monsters to ever be released in the game. So today we're going to go back in time basically, because a lot of these monsters were from the previous eras. And again, this is not the top 10 best monsters as of right now, but this is just the top 10 to ever be released into the game. If you guys like this type of content, just drop a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, I hope you do enjoy this. Yeah, so we're going back in time in this video, okay? So we're going to be choosing the 10 best monsters that Monster Legends ever released, and many of them are from the previous eras. I'm talking about like legendary eras, and then there are some that we have up to date. So today I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys know all those monsters who I think were the 10 best monsters to be ever in Monster Legends. So again guys, this is not the top 10 best monsters right now, but this is the top 10 best monsters to ever be released in Monster Legends. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, just go ahead and drop a like and let me know in the comments down below, and also subscribe if you're new around here with notifications on. But anyways guys, so let's go ahead and get into this. The very best the very first monster that I'm actually going to mention, by the way, this list is not in order, so if you see one monster now and then later on the other, you're gonna be like, oh, so is this the one I mentioned later on, is that one better or the first one better? Not really. I just didn't want to put them in order, so these are all out of order, but these monsters are definitely the top 10 list in my opinion. So anyways, the first monster that we're gonna go ahead and take a look at is actually from here guys, and can you guys guess who it is? We're not talking about Lord Heyman, no, it is the original Lord Pumpseed guys. So Lord Pumpseed, this monster was just game breaking. When he first got released, like this monster was literally dominating in every aspect of the game. So you guys remember, for those of you guys that actually had this monster, this guy was just crazy. And he actually was still usable until like Mythic era, like Cosmic, Corrupted era, players were still using this monster because of how broken this monster was in the game. Look at this. So for example, you can literally PR everybody from the enemy team, apply Mega Corrupted and Ignite. By the way, back then we didn't have like too many fancy traits, and this was just when like the game was actually picking up in terms of meta, like in terms of new types of traits and all that other stuff. Like strategy was literally just invented when this monster got released. So you can imagine how this monster, how good he was. Look at this. Applies a random torture to all enemies, removes positive status effects, applies corrupted, and this is to one enemy and then to all enemies, so you can actually bypass dodge area. You have the honking, which basically disabled trait, yard, corrupted and burn, and then you have the AoE death countdown with CDA. And this monster, let me tell you, it was so good. I actually had to rank it up to 120, and he was very good overall, so definitely in the top in my opinion. Now there's actually another monster that I want to mention that in my opinion is somewhat in the same exact like tier with him, so I didn't want to put them separately, so I put them together, okay? And you guys can let me know in the comments which one you think is actually better. That monster is actually in the elite meta, so like in the elite era. So Gron guys, do you guys remember Gron? This monster is just so good. Now the traits aren't like super fancy, but you have dodge air, which is actually really good with tough. Those two combined, pretty good. And back then again, traits, there weren't too many traits, you know, it was just picking up basically in terms of like strategy wise and everything. So traits weren't really the best. It was pretty good back then, let me tell you. This was actually one of the best traits back then. Can you believe that? And then we have this right here, no rest for the wicked, which basically was an AoE trait disable. You dealt some damage and stun poison. You do have a heavy special damage, mega stun, 1 extra turn to yourself, CDA with 1 extra turn, and then PR, CDA, and stun together. That's just crazy. So yeah, this monster was very good. Also the traits were just amazing, and I think he was actually one of the first few Legends Pass monsters. He was either free to play or he actually got released with the Golden Legends Pass. Next monster that we are going to mention that's actually in the list is one of the only Warmasters guys. Look at this. This monster is just crazy. Now again, the traits aren't really the best, but Warmasters actually had some pretty good traits back then. Like look at this. So you get Warmaster Thalassa trait, which is basically exclusive to this monster only, and you get a status effect or 35% less accurate against her, and also you get double maximum stamina. So if you pair it up with any other like extra turners or whatever, this monster was just like such a bad or not such a bad, such a really good like ally with that monster. So if you actually take a look at the skills, this is actually what made the monster so good, because basically when you take in the first turn with this monster, or if you had a turn transfer over, because players were still using this monster, and some players can still use this monster, make this monster be usable nowadays. So you can turn transfer over, PER, extra turn, and then you have a trade disable. By the way, take a look at this 2-turn cooldown, 4-turn cooldown, and then there's another 2-turn cooldown. So you can basically kind of like, what do you call it? You can basically cycle these skills. And it was really good, because you also get a freeze hater, which gives you triple damage against monsters that are frozen. Now keep in mind, because when you are PRing, trade disabling, every path is going to be open for you, and then eventually when you give that freeze hater to your monster, to your attacker, you can actually freeze the enemy and trade disable them as well. So you can mega freeze them, which makes them lose 2 turns, because they can't really defend against this unless they have like a trade protection, for example. Like an example would be Ingwe, for example. You know what I mean? Or Refining Ironwings, for example. That monster is another that actually has trade protection. So just to keep in mind, you know what I mean? Like you can't really do it against it, but most of the other monsters, literally, you can open the path, you have triple damage, you can literally dominate. And this was like one of the best supporters, in my opinion, to ever be released in the game. Now there's actually about 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 more supporters that are going to be in this list, so quite a lot of supporters. But the next monster that I actually want to mention, that's actually on the list in my opinion, is the one and only Warmaster Ragnarok. Now there are some honorable mentions that I'll actually mention in the end of the video, so if you don't see any of the monsters you think are actually in this list, you might actually hear it in the honorable mentions at the end of the video, just to keep in mind. Anyways, Warmaster Ragnarok, one of the best monsters to ever be released as well. Look at this, he had his own trait as well, which gave him True Vision, Anticipation, and Harden. So that is pretty good together. So if you really thought this monster didn't have Anticipation, well, think again. So he was really good. Like you can NER, apparently you can remove all negative side effects, give 100% of life, and 1 extra turn to that ally. So you can literally reset that monster. Don't forget about the stamina as well. It mentions stamina, so it's 100% life and stamina. Then you have another skill that basically gives you evasion, NERs everything, and also heals your allies as well. This monster also gives trade disabled and blind to the enemies, and you can remove literally 75% of total life from any enemy. So it doesn't matter what kind of or how much life they have. Monster was very good in the adventure map, and you can still use it in the adventure map for those that have like millions of life, and you can literally take this monster against them and you can remove 75% of the life, and makes it so much easier for you. Also, another cool thing was his elements. It was actually double legendary. Back then that was really cool. The next monster, guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys actually remember him, and he is another monster from here, from this, you know, elite era. Take a look at this. We have Wormlad. Wormlad was such a good monster, guy. We have Dodge Area, Celestial, giving you stun, immunity to stun, immunity to mega stun, and bleeding. And also, let's not forget the skills, guys. The skills is what made this monster so good. And all these monsters that I've been mentioning recently, literally skills is what makes them so good. Like, this monster could literally just reset everything, like remove all negative status effects, precision and life regen to all allies. You do have a PER to one enemy twice, where you can actually deal a very heavy light damage. So this was like a hybrid monster. You could use it as a supporter or attacker, or you could do both at the same time. You do have an evasion and give them extra turn to yourself. And last but not least, this is what made this monster so good too, is the fact that you can literally resurrect one of your allies, give them evasion, positive fight protection, and health regen. Now keep in mind, it only resurrects with 1% of life, but most of the time what players used to do is they used to use this level 4 strategy, which I actually made a lot of videos on in the past. But basically, what you can actually do is you can like revive one of your monsters, like a tank for example, especially like a level 4 tank that had megatons, and when you resurrect them, you give them evasion, you know, their megaton back and everything else. And if the enemy doesn't have any skills to remove positive status effects, then you're pretty good. And I mean, like, they can't do anything about that. Plus you have positive effect protection, which is basically they have to remove positive status effects twice in order to do anything against you. So really good monster overall. Definitely one of the best in my opinion to ever be released. The next monster is definitely going to be my favorite of all time, and you guys know this. A lot of OG viewers watching this, you guys know who I'm talking about, who I'm actually about to bring up. And she wasn't part of anything, literally. She was just a normal legendary, and literally one of the best monsters to ever be released in the game, in my opinion, which was Madden Fusion. This monster is just so good. She got released again, you know, like 2 or 3 times, and they made it worse every single time. But the first time, the original Madden Fusion, so good, guys. Look at this. We have self evasion, self positive effect protection as well with hardened, and then the skills is what made this monster so good. Take a look at this, guys. We have PER, give 1 extra turn to yourself, so you're removing positive stats effect from the enemy and you're giving yourself an extra turn. And take a look at this. We have a trade table, give 1 extra turn to yourself. Then you have room ball negative statistics from one ally, give themselves an extra turn, and also some stamina with stamina regen. Now this is actually a big deal. Back then, this monster was literally dominating with this. Like, trust me, because what you could do is look at the cooldowns of these. You can PER, trade table, PR, trade table, PR, trade table. So basically you can open up the whole path for your allies, and then eventually you give that extra turn to your attacker, let's say for example, or denier, and they can literally take advantage in battle. And let me tell you, this monster was so good, and the relic slots made this monster like 100 times better because you can literally attack forever. The next monster that I'm actually going to be mentioning, so it's 2 monsters but in one. Okay, so I didn't want to put them separately. And those 2 monsters, one of them is actually from this era, I believe. Is it this era? No, it's actually not. It's part of the whatchamacallit, Forsaken. So Forsaken era, and that is Nisel. Nisel was really good, guys. One of the best resurrectors in my opinion. He had anticipation, he has area cooldown immunity, bulwark, obviously his own Nisel Forsaken trait. But overall, guys, really good monster, very good resurrector. Like, look at this, guys. I feel like even maybe what's his name, Ural, can't really top this as a resurrector, because you're resurrecting everybody with 50% life, damage boost, and evasion to everybody. So they're protected, they can't get attacked. Something Ural can't do. Ural can just resurrect everybody and that's it. Take a look at this. Removes 50% of total life from an enemy. You can also do guard down, hater, and precision with NER to everybody. So really good resurrector overall. And you had even like better skills here that I never really unlocked. For example, look at this one. Removes 30% of stamina from an enemy, removes positive side effects, you're stamina leaking everybody, and 3-turn death counts onto everybody. You also have this one, which is a very supportive one. Really good, like read that. And then last but not least, you can resurrect one ally with 50% life, evasion to one ally, and double damage with an extra turn to that ally. Something that Ural cannot top. And next monster in the list is, I'm sure you guys can actually guess that since we actually just talked about a resurrector, and that is Ural the Divine. So Ural the Divine, I wanted to put these 2 in the same category, although I feel like Nisel is a better option. If we were to bring back Nisel to now, with the same exact, let's say, stats, obviously I would pick Nisel, and a lot of you guys I'm sure will also pick Nisel over Ural for sure. Like, if these guys had equal stats, like, you guys can, you know, come on, be honest. Who would you pick? Would you pick Ural or Nisel? Obviously the traits are a little bit like different from each other. Like, this one has dodge area, but then Nisel has whatchamacallit, anticipation, which made this monster a lot better. But anyways, let's see what we have here. So resurrection 50%, like I said. You do have resurrection with 50%, but gives 50% damage and motion turn to the ally, although Nisel had a double damage, just mentioning. And also evasion. You do have PER, obviously, which I'll give, and, you know, curse, and then obviously NER. And again, Nisel was able to do that as well, but I think that was with a resurrection skill. So overall, both monsters were really good, you know what I mean? You guys can let me know in the comments down below which one you think is better. The next monster, we're going back into the Forsaken era, guys, because Forsaken, let me tell you, they released so many good monsters. The next one is Santerion, and this was one of the, literally the best, I feel like this is the best tank that Monster Legends ever released. We all agree. I know we've had some really good ones, like for example, Pangaloyath. We've had, what do you call it? What's the one from the Abyssal era? You know, everybody's using it. I think players are still using it. Maybe some actually stopped because of Dumbane. But I'm talking about the water tank, and that was really good. Don't you know, obviously I don't want to get it mixed up, and obviously King Adam was really good as well, that he got released. Take a look at this, alright? We have Hardened, we have Megaton. Megaton becomes a Megaton trait. You have Artifact as well. These two go really well together, and then area damage reduction to the enemies as well. Really good overall. And then the skills as well. Let's not forget about the skills. They're applying 2 random tortures to all enemies. You also have this one, which is a random negative status effect to all enemies, applies a random positive status effect to everybody, and one extra turn to yourself. And then you can do an AoE 50% heal while dealing a little bit of damage. And then obviously NER to all allies with life regen and stamina regen. He did have some positive effect removal skills as well. You can even heal yourself by 50% if you want to run this skill, and it comes with a random negative side effect to all enemies. You do have an AoE random protection. So really good stuff overall, and then you even have an NER from yourself, which gives you an extra turn as well. So a lot of extra turn skills we see here and there. The next monster that we're actually going to mention is actually from the Galactic era, and that is the one and only Voltaik Redeemed, one of the best extra turners they ever released. And I kind of want to add in Dark Voltaik in the same exact category. Shall we do that? Because if we had Dark Voltaik with the same exact stats as this monster, I feel like it's kind of hard to choose because they're both going to be really good. Obviously one of them have evasion, so if let's say you let Dark Voltaik get a turn in, if it was a 1v1 battle, you let Dark Voltaik get a turn in, he literally can't eliminate Voltaik Redeemed because of the evasion. But then this monster is going to get a turn and obviously eliminate him because of the light against the dark category. So that's why I put Voltaik Redeemed you know, as the best, you know, extra turn attacker here, because of that. Like if it was a 1v1 battle, obviously Voltaik Redeemed is going to win no matter what, unless you pair it up with 2 other monsters. Then you can strategize, obviously. But if it was literally just the 2 monsters fighting together, Voltaik Redeemed is going to win no matter what, even if the stats were equal. Like even if you get Voltaik Redeemed the first turn, obviously he's going to eliminate him, and if you let the other one take in the first turn, he can't do anything because of the evasion. So it's kind of not fair, right? But anyways, this monster is just overall really good. A lot of you guys are definitely familiar with him, so I'm not even gonna, you know, mention the skills or anything, but you guys can see how good the skills are. This monster can attack infinitely, like I mean infinitely. And you can even do some other strategies such as giving yourself Anticipation Hater with dodge area, which some players tend to run. I personally am not really a huge fan of it, but I know some of you guys actually tend to run that. The very next monster that I want to mention is one of the best supporters they ever released in the game, and that is Elvira Demon Slayer. I kind of wanted to mention Maggie as well, but I really like Elvira Demon Slayer more if, let's say, the stats were equal. Obviously we're gonna go with Alvar Demon Slayer because this monster is really good. Obviously the other one can heal, you know what I mean, do a couple of other things, but this one just overall, like, just so good. You have area evasion, area random torture immunity, bulwark, celestial, immune to blind, so really good traits overall. And then don't forget about the skills. This monster can basically give you double damage and NER everything. You can even turn this monster into an attacker if you want. Like, she can be an attacker if you want, but obviously players prefer it as a supporter. And then you have a damage boost, precision, and aquaphobic shield, which gives you the ability to protect yourself from every other element, like damage wise, and it can only be damaged by water. And then removes all negative status effects, applies evasion to everybody, and then you have other skills to take a look at as well. But overall, one of the best supporters to ever be released in the game, guys, and that is Elvira Demon Slayer. Now, the last monster to be released in the game that is literally game breaking in my opinion is, drumroll please, okay, and that is the one and only Just and Justice, guys. So Just and Justice, in my opinion, is like literally the best monster they ever released in the game. And by the way, I'm actually gonna mention the honorable mentions right after this. Some of the monsters that I think could have actually made it into this list but didn't, but they are very good, like one of the best to ever be released, obviously. So take a look at this. Trait wise, you have so many things, like, oh my goodness, look at this, right? So you have tough, immune to torture, immune to blind, area light weakness, sunburn. And then take a look at the skills, and what makes this monster even crazier is the awakening. And obviously you guys know ancestrals with their awakenings are just something else. Like, you have Pierce, True Vision. All you have to do is literally just give this monster or any of your other allies 5x the damage boost, which again can be basically unlocked instantly with Albanasa. So this monster can literally take control over the battle, you know what I mean, and then after that it's game over. That's how insane this monster is. Now let's go ahead and talk about the honorable mentions, like I said. So these are the monsters that couldn't make it into the list, but I still wanted to kind of give them a shout out because they're definitely in the top. It's up there, you know what I mean. Anyways, one of them is Wildbird from, I believe it was Forsaken era. Yeah, Corruptus was also from the Forsaken era. Corruptus, guys, check him out as well. He's really good. We have Centurion, another monster, which actually, wait, hold on. I think I feel like I put up, wait, I put him in there twice. So yeah, Centurion was already in the list, so forget about that. Algara, guys, don't forget about Algara. Dodge area, really good. You know, damage booster. Then we have Albinasa as well, which is a recent monster from the Alpine era. Then we have Chio Long. Do you guys remember Chio Long from the Corrupted era? That monster was so good. And then we have Serpentix as well. And we also have Dark Uma. And last but not least, let's talk about Lindworm. Lindworm was actually a really good monster overall as well. And we have a couple of other ones. Actually, we have many more. We have Spectra, we have Lord Heyman, we have Warmaster Sherazar, which was the Magic Warmaster. And we also have Ingwe from the Corrupted era. We have Amanaya as well from the Blossom era. And don't forget about Galvanus. And let's talk about two last monsters. One of them is the both of them are actually ancestral. One of them is the magic I forgot his name. Let's go back here. We have we're not talking about Bashir, no, we're talking about this one right here. She is really good, one of the best to be released. And last but not least, the one and only, guys, Grafania Iron Wings. I couldn't make it into the list, but I still wanted to kind of give it a shout out. If you guys have your top 10 personal favorite monsters that ever got released, like the best ones in your opinion, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll go ahead and read them. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.